Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Good morning and welcome to the show. It's a beautiful time, a beautiful day to start our morning with each other this morning. My name is Emmanuel Ojadigele and I welcome you to That Breakfast Show on Western Spring Television, Morning Spring. We're reaching you live from Startimes Channel 190 on the DTT platform. And you can follow all of our social media handles displaying right there on your screen on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, Western Spring Television. You can also check us out on YouTube at Western Spring Television. Do well to subscribe to our channel there so you can follow all our programs live and also catch up with some of the episodes that you've missed of your favorite programs. Welcome to the show this morning. It's another day to look at the things happening in the country. Few hours to Easter Friday, Good Friday if you ask me, Saturday too, and so it's been festivities back to back. But then welcome to the show this morning.
Yes, thank you for joining us this morning. It's the Morning Spring of Western Spring Television. I'm Temitope Ajijola Oluwala.
Well, so how are we preparing for Easter? Our Muslim brothers and sisters are fasting. Lent is almost over. Easter is here, and it's some sort of enjoyment.
Yes, I know that the celebration this year is going to be a bit low key,
muted
because of the effects of the cash crunch, and then because of the mood, the atmosphere this time around. That's the Ramadan, and then you don't just eat in your house. Sometimes for Easter you have people over, and some of our friends are Muslims, and so it's going to be really low this year.
Well, it's going to be low-key, but then so many things to pray about, so many things to seek the face of God over the state of the economy, the state of the country. Honestly, it's not just, I don't know why we're here. But I think that the government has to be more decisive. You take public transport and then you hear the complaints from different people. There's so much hardship. And unfortunately, the political elites don't even feel a pinch of what's happening, so they are distant from the people, and maybe that's why they cannot provide some sort of,
circle
to them. Anyway, let's take the papers for you, but we'll do that now after this break. Just stay with us. Welcome back to the show. We'll begin with the Punch newspaper for you this morning. The Punch newspaper says, New House leadership, opposition reps-elect plots to upstage APC. As on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, opposition reps-elect plots to upstage APC. The writers say opposition reps-elect meet, form greater majority bloc to tackle APC. Group warns members against APC infiltration, targets key house positions. Be warned, 2015 Saraki Dogara actions won't be allowed, APC tells rep-elect. And the politicking has begun already.
Yes.
Immediately after people won their ticket or their re-election or first-time election, as it were, they began to lobby for principal offices, as it is everywhere. The speakership is up for grabs, deputy speaker, all of those juicy positions, and chairmanship of committees up for grabs. And I am interested about this greater majority thing now. The opposition reps elect. So if they come together, I don't think they can have more than the APC. But if by some stroke of luck, say some APC people decide to join them, that means the APC may end up being the minority in the House, but I don't see that happening. I don't see people in this early stage of their political careers, for some of them, crossing the carpet or trying to change parties. So I don't see that happening. But the APC saying it won't allow the Saraki Dogara saga happen again. It's trying to show up its rank. There's been so much conversation about who will take what, who will become what, and the current speaker is projected to be a member of the incoming administration. So that leaves one seat open. You know, just a lot of permutations and arguments there. Interesting to see that opposition reps elected trying to upstage the APC, and let's see how the APC responds to that attempt. You know, that's that on that story. I just see some pictures below that story. Pupils on school buses on the Long Bridge axis of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway.
Did you say school bus?
Yes, school buses are in quote. And I think it's a sarcastic comment to draw attention to the fact that this is dangerous, it is reckless, it puts the lives of these children at unnecessary risk.
An open bus for children. This is not even a bus.
Some of them are standing.
Yes. And you just want to know how much these people are paying and what kind of monitoring the school has for all of this to happen.
I mean, this is not some very remote area. That this is the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway on the Long Bridge. That's in the heart of Lagos. And you have this kind of thing. I'm not even sure the students, these pupils pay. Maybe it's just some good Samaritan who picks them randomly. So you leave them at the risk of being kidnapped. You leave them at the risk of cold, being because it's early in the morning, being exposed like that. And you leave them at the risk of unnecessary accidents, looking at the rate of traffic mishaps in Lagos now, containers falling on people, drivers being reckless, potholes. And some of these children, these are kids, these are like kids, you know, and I don't know.
Pupils of a school, that's obvious. But then we also need to look at the key actors in this: the school, the parents, and the government. You know, if the government is not aware, a school is actually doing this, and are the parents aware? And if they are and they can't say anything, it also speaks to the fact that they may just not have another option.
Well, that's true. They may not have another option, but I just hope that the government will come through and take
to the rescue,
care of these things. Well, let's move on from that. On page 20 of the Punch newspaper, Bitcoin platform with 1.5 million Nigerian users shuts down. Some disheartening story. Very.
It's not a good time to be in Nigeria and to be a Nigerian, because Nigerians are just having it bad on all phases. Like it's this phase is really bad for us, really. From the cash crunch, I mean, we were having full scarcity at the same time, the elections and all the grievances with it, and right now several things. At this time, it's really not a good time at all.
It's not. I mean, the cryptocurrency is supposed to be the safest, means of transaction. But you can't rule out unscrupulous elements everywhere. You can't rule out unscrupulous elements. And if you have people, and I'm sure you can imagine the amount of money in crypto now that has been moved or lost on that platform, and I'm not very sure that platform shut down because of some external attacks or irregularities. Someone trying to make away with other people's money, Well, that's. We hope that those persons can lay complaints and get their money back. Some of them, and the rest, if they can't, well, it's going to be somehow. Pages 4 and 5. Okada riders on the Rampage Q Cup injure DPO. So pages 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. You see a snapshot of Celeb bus stop there.
Yes, a lot of people use this their motorcycles for a lot of devilish acts, and it speaks to the reason that some states have banned them, and then I don't think they're I won't say recruitment now, but the way to get their license and all, I don't think it's strict enough. I mean, you can just see somebody becoming an Okada rider and it picks people up, and they don't have strict association like the commercial buses now, and so things like this will always happen. You have people infiltrating their ranks and all like that. we need to do more on motorcycle riders to get people accountable for their actions and to be able to trace them.
Well, that issue may be, it is some clash, some misunderstanding between the police people and the Okada. And one thing I have learned with the Okada riders over time is that when you in any way attack or try to be harsh to one of them, before in the blink of an eye, they're all
already
there. They're all there. So that's also part of it. On page 20 of that newspaper, Lagos Ibadan Express will ready April 30. Drainage delays or your section is coming from the federal government. That express will be ready by April 30, and drainage is the one delaying the Oyo section. You know, the federal government has been trying to bring that road back to optimum condition, and we hope that they do that soon. Above the nameplate, the government borrows $800 million for mass transit cash transfers. Wow, here we are again.
I don't think we have any new thing to say about.
So much slating. It's something, I don't know. It's something that we need to look into. We've been borrowing so much, and just recently, the Chinese rejected our loan request, and now we have borrowed $800 million again. It is well.
And so that means we looked to another means this time, because China has always been, at least from what we know, open and disposed to give in Nigeria loans. But they refused this particular time. It might be something to worry about.
Okay, so let's move on now. Still on the Punch newspaper. Fresh promissory notes raising national debts, DMO. That's on page 19. Nekwe Madu, Obasanjo begs UK court for leniency. That is something you get to know more about along the line of the show. I saw the letter. A lot of persons have mixed reactions, really, about OBJ's letter to the UK asking for leniency for Nekwe Madu. And I don't know what effect that letter will have. He's no longer in government. He doesn't have he may have diplomatic ties, but not on the national scale. And I do not think that the UK will be willing to, temper justice with mercy at the behest or at the request of a former leader. If it were a formal line of communication between both governments now, there may be some compromise, maybe. But this is a sitting senator who is on trial, has been found guilty, and will be sentenced pretty much soon. I don't know how that letter will be of any effect. The law has to run its course, except we are trying to say that, because I read the letter, and except we're trying to say that people can commit crimes because they have good reasons, that the end now justifies the means. So I can take up a gun now and say I want to rob a bank because I'm broke. That's theft. There is no human angle to crime. Crime is crime. You don't commit crime because you're human, because you're a parent who is trying to, if you had put up, like some Twitter users rightly said, if you had put up a public notice asking for people to help you, you'd have found rather millions of people. It's the Nekwe Madus. Everybody knows what is in it for them. You would have found millions of people willing to donate kidney to you. So you cannot say because it's a father who was trying to save the life of his daughter. We all sympathize with the family of that. The daughter, we wish her good health. I wish her good health. I wish she gets a donor to, recover from the ailments that she's suffering from. But you cannot, a parent's love for a daughter is putting another person's life at risk. So we must reconcile this. It's a crime. Let the law take its course. There's no point trying to. There were mixed reactions, but I think that it's not really proper. We shouldn't let people face the consequences of their actions to the full extent of the law. Maybe I was trying to look out for his daughter, but there were other channels that he could have gone through to achieve that. And so the law should just take its course. That's my position on the matter.
Very true. The law should take its course.
But that's all on the Punch newspaper this morning.
All right, moving to the Daily Trust newspaper. The headline says National Assembly leadership scheming as 16 aspirants push for zoning open contest. And the riders, Southern lawmakers want Senate presidency zoned to region. Allow us to choose our presiding officers, says Ndume. I'm ready to sacrifice my ambition for a Southern Christian, says Musa. No special committee on zoning. That's from the APC. A special committee on zoning. That's from the APC. I think it's pretty much what we had on the Punch newspaper. All the scheming, and it's here, it says scheming. I like the way it's put here. Scheming as 16 aspirants push for zoning and open contest. All right, moving quickly below that, HIV/AIDS, FG prohibits discrimination at workplaces, and that's on page 25. I think it's a lot of attention has been taken from the virus, and it seems it's coming out again and being on the rampage. But it's good that the FG is putting out some sort of warning to prohibit discrimination at workplaces. I mean, I don't know how people get to know that there's a person living with a virus, and then once they know, I don't think discrimination is the way to go. We need to
it speaks to the fact that in this country, we're so big on stigma.
Yeah.
We're so big on stigma, and it is disturbing that because someone is positive, HIV positive, you feel that this person isn't worth
a plague.
a position. Exactly. I mean, it's not a communicable disease by touch.
Exactly.
It's something that is transmitted in the way it is transmitted by, contact with the blood of the infected person, sexual intercourse and all of that. So there is really no need to discriminate people, especially if they're up and doing. I mean, there are people who have all the other ailments that are even terminal and fast killing than HIV, cancer, for instance, hepatitis, and all of that. But we don't discriminate them. I don't know, for some reason, people are even more sympathetic, to cancer patients.
You just might be shocked that there are still a small number of people that don't want to get close to people who have any sort of disease.
Yes, there is, but when you look at the fact that some diseases get more attention in terms of discrimination and stigma than others, you begin to wonder if we aren't humans after all. I mean, some persons have psychological diseases, they don't know it, So it's really a good one that way. But like you said, it's not written on the forehead, so I don't know how people get to know in the first place. It's just one person telling one person, and everybody tries to avoid the person.
Yes, and I think that more should be done now. Again, I mean, people might have forgotten that you shouldn't stigmatize people living with HIV, and then we need to do a lot again to resuscitate the sensitization, for HIV/AIDS. But then that's on page 25. Moving on to page 5. Kogi attacks, 10 people killed, 50 houses razed. That's according to a witness, saying that 10 people have been killed in the Kogi attacks and 50 houses razed. More insecurity issues.
More insecurity issues everywhere. And the election period seemed to have taken all of our attention away from these issues. I think some of those attacks rather ceased for some reason that were unknown to the common man. But I still, maybe because of how I see life, but I don't think anything can push me to the point of wanting to, at this point now, wanting to take someone else's life, destroy their property. I mean, they say if you do anyhow, you will see anyhow. Then you have to get to, I don't know the kind of point you have to get to kill someone. I wonder most times, like, how do you get there? How do you strangle someone till they stop breathing?
This is not about depression
at all. It's just wickedness, And I hope that the perpetrators are brought to book and they are made to face the full wrath of the law.
Yes, we hope so. And on page 25, federal government slams Western nations for funding IPOB. All right. And then to the bottom strip, subsidy removal. Federal government secures $800 million World Bank loan for palliatives. 800 million World Bank loan for palliatives.
So now we know where the $800 million came from.
Going to be yes. We know where it came from, and we know what it will be channeled to. Well, just above that, to the bottom strip, to just below the nameplate. Selfishness caused APC's defeat in Kano. That's according to Adamo. And NNPC failed to account for 102 billion naira oil delivery to refineries, according to a report. It's also on page 25. And then on page 6, 1.1 billion naira for each varsity as Buhari approves 320 billion naira intervention funds. Each varsity gets 1.1 billion naira of the 320 billion naira approved by the president.
Again,
for intervention.
Funds disbursed, funds given out, interventions given out. But the question is, who gets it? What are they? What are those funds used for?
So well utilized.
How they spent? A lot of questions. A lot of questions will be asked, and I asked about this. But it's good that some things are changing in the twilight of President Buhari's administration. Some interventions, some laws being assented to, some bills being assented to. It's just really commendable for him. He's trying to leave behind a legacy. But this issue of institutions, higher institutions, tertiary institutions being underfunded has been on for long. It's been a running issue, and one of the core components of the demands of the academic bodies and every other person involved in all of those trade industrial actions, asking for more funding for the universities. They have to, especially federal universities, they have to generate their own IGR and all of those other means. Recently, one of the universities, although a state university, was in the news for wanting to make bread and sell bread to make revenue, and people were saying, at this point in time, 21st century, you shouldn't be relying on bread as your source of, and they banned every other bread on campus, on the school campus. And the person was saying that, you see, in trying to make your own revenue, you are driving other people out of the market and monopolizing the bread market to make. So how many people buy bread daily in the first place? How do you intend? That's not a long-term sustainable revenue generation project, but it's good to see the federal government and the president giving out these amounts to each university. I'm just hoping that they are spent judiciously.
Well, that's all on the Daily Trust paper.
Well, let's move on to The Guardian this morning. The Guardian newspaper. That's where we are at the moment. Neighbors feed fat on Nigeria's poorly funded inefficient seaports, as on page 6 of The Guardian newspaper. Neighbors feed fat on Nigeria's poorly funded inefficient seaports, page 6 of The Guardian newspaper. Local ports gets 2 billion naira budgetary allocations in 8 years. Ports recovering with current reforms, NPA boss says.
Well, if our neighbors are feeding fat, and Nigerians, how are Nigerians doing? How do we feed? How are we feeding from this, as is said here, poorly funded and inefficient seaports?
It is beyond me. It is beyond me.
Yes.
And honestly,
the questions asked, and the MPA boards and others, they should look into that loophole. If there is a loophole that is making that happen, we need to, if we are, pumping money into a particular sector of our economy, we should be getting enough revenue to make up for whatever it is we're spending.
I'm very optimistic, so I keep hoping that people will do the right thing eventually. But let's look at page 6 of that newspaper, The Guardian. Afenifere, Igbo leaders tackle Mohammed over treason poll claims. Some words have redefined Nigeria's political
Yes.
space in the past few months, and some of them are actually very grave. They are weighty words.
Yeah.
Treason, interim national government. All of these things go a long way to show you that we attach so much importance to our elections that everybody does everything, both legally and illegally, to get into power and to ensure the other person doesn't get into power. And Afenifere and the Igbo leaders have come for Lai Mohammed after that statement
Yes.
he made in Washington, D.C. I think that at the time where we're trying to build our national image that has been battered all over the world, making certain statements on an international stage
Yes.
detracts from the progress we've been we've been making. You don't portray someone as big as a presidential candidate of your country, of a party in your country, who came third, is not even in the main opposition. I mean, I don't see Atiku Abubakar getting all of this heat. He's in the PDP. The PDP and the APC have always been neck and neck on elections. And suddenly the APC is not even interested in what the PDP is doing.
Yes.
It is interested in what the Labour Party is doing. And it begins to ask, to bring a lot of questions. What exactly is going on? Why, if you accuse someone of treason, you don't have to announce it on the international stage. You make appropriate moves to pick up the person to answer for their crimes, the ones they have not committed, the ones they've committed, and the ones that they are thinking of committing.
Well, that was just to mop up sentiment. And Lai Mohammed, for who he is, I don't think he thought through enough to really weigh the consequences of what he did. I think that would be in retrospect now if he is thinking about it, but he may not even think it's something worth thinking of, because he really maybe did not even understand the consequence or the weight of what he did, because that's really bad. It's bad for the image, bad for whatever relations we have with that country where he said that.
Well, a lot of things happen in Nigeria. Very interesting country, very interesting space.
Yes. And so it's still part of what we've been saying about the competence or the profile of people that you give some certain offices. I mean, a person like him should not be falling to, such,
Yes, and that's why I believe that Peter Obi gave his own response to Lai Mohammed, because that statement, that allegations was made, those allegations rather were made officially.
Yes.
From the Ministry of Information by the Minister of Information. If a Minister of Information, if you were some party spokesman or do you call it politics, but this is a matter of national security, and the government is designating someone as being complicit or being, involved in treasonable offenses. You have to respond if you don't have anything to hide, or if you're not guilty, as is said. But then he has responded, and it's going to be an interesting coming few months back and forth.
Really, we can move past this and get out of this particular phase, unscathed.
On business page 15, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt slowing regional growth, says World Bank. Get more on that story on business page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. INEC and an imperative of financial accountability. Editorial page 12. An opposition party's plot to produce rep speaker. It's on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper.
All right, the last paper for this morning on the Nation newspaper. Banner headline says, Soyinka to Tinubu, make power devolution priority. And it says, I warned Peter Obi that his supporters would make him lose the election. Well,
Soyinka has also been in the news recently, yesterday, most recently, but he's been making some statement, and some persons have accused him of being hypocritical. You kept quiet in the face of injustice. There weren't so much statement from him with the whole
Over the
ethnic
elections and all.
profiling in
Yes.
Lagos, the violence in the north, the insecurity issues in the east. Everywhere was topsy-turvy,
Yes.
and it was nowhere to be found. And now he seems to have found his voice, and Nigerians were not having it at all. And he did say some certain things, some strong words were used, but I don't know where he's been all this while. And it's good that it's coming out now to talk. Let's see how Nigerians take his speech.
All right. Below that, court suspends Labour Party National Chair, Secretary, others, and says leaders battling forgery case. That's just below that. And then to the bottom strip, it says stop harboring IPOB members. Federal government tells EU countries. Stop harboring IPOB members. Federal government tells EU countries, and that's on page 8.
Yes, I think Simon Ekpa being in Finland readily comes to mind, and Nnamdi Kanu being in the UK for quite some time comes to mind. But again, like one of our guests said last week, some things are not even said, shouldn't be said on the faces of papers. There are channels through which you go ahead and make your complaints known. Write an official letter, make official complaints, ask to extradite this person, see if they've incited violence to that extent. And then you get it done. There's no point coming to cry blame order on the faces of papers and issuing statement when you can open up. You see, if there is a diplomatic way to go about it, write to the country. Make your case. Present evidence. And then watch the country do what they should do. I mean, no country in the European bloc now would sit down and, for instance, a UK national is hiding in Nigeria or he lives in Nigeria and is calling for mass protests in the UK. I mean, the UK would have written to the Nigerian government, we need our citizen, we need him to come answer some questions. But so many things take our attention in this country, and we are not focusing on the major issues. We're just looking at the minor ones. It's a big problem for us.
We may not know. Maybe that has been done, and there was no.
Oh well, it's not being done at all.
All right. Just below the nameplate, 50 million Nigerians to share World Bank's $800 million as petrol subsidy palliative. And below that, Okada riders kill policemen in Lagos attack. That's on page 27. And Friday, Monday are holidays. That's on page 6. Well, Emmanuel, we have holidays for Friday and Monday, public holidays for people who are not in our
Unfortunately, we don't. It's well, it's in the service of the people and to the nation,
Yes.
that the holidays are not observed.
But people
by
should
some of
know
us.
that Friday and Monday are holidays for
Yes.
them. Well, above the nameplate, Obasanjo writes UK court over Ekweremadu, and that's in page 5. I mean, yes, page 5, page 8 of the Nation newspaper. APC moves to reconcile Adamu Omishore with Lukman. APC moves to reconcile Adamu Omishore with Lukman. And
Crisis hitting the
Yes,
APC there.
APC.
Some really strong disagreements between the national chairman Adamu Abdullahi, the national vice chairman Lukman, and of course Secretary General Mishori over some alleged corruption issues. There's still the fallout from all of the elections. A lot of things will be revealed, a lot of names will be dropped, a lot of fingers will be pointed. And we'll hope to see how all of these things end.
But then the APC is moving to reconcile people.
But sometimes some of these reconciliation moves are just to save face. People just agree, okay, let's not fight publicly anymore. But then on the ground, it's still going, and then that's what tears political parties apart. The internal wrangling that that comes up as a result of the supposed public resolution of conflict. That's what really kills political parties.
Well, On page 8, 6 died, 27 million recovered from accident scene in Osho. 6 died, 27 million naira recovered from accident scene in Osho. While Trump denounces felony charges against him. And that's also on page 8 of the Nation newspaper. And then to the last story there, just below that picture, I'm sought to leave Nigeria, says British High Commissioner. And that is on page 8 as well.
Well, that's that on the papers this morning. The Nation, the Guardian, Nation, Daily Trust, and the Punch newspaper. One thing that is striking for me, that is missing on the faces of these papers, is Obi's rebuttal to the leaked audio. I mean, all of the papers latched onto it in the aftermath of the release on Sunday. Everybody was talking about it. Now the man has come out to say that audio is fake. I am suing the People's Gazette and everybody who is involved in that. And the papers are silent. Nobody's saying the man has denied it. I mean, it's sometimes you want to look at the Nigerian media space and some of the issues that come out from there, and then you're wondering, no, it's not even no rider. And his statement was released early into the night, I think around 8 or there about 8 or 9 p.m. And most papers don't print until wee hours of the morning. And so you wonder why that could not have been smuggled in. It shouldn't make front page if at least it'll be made banner headlines in some papers. Then principle of fair hearing. I think we can do better.
Yes.
But that's why we end the paper reviews this morning, and when we come back, we'll tell you what's next and to give you the conversation.
Yes, so it is.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Eva is pounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West. And Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girl got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila, and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Ahmadu Bello, a Prince Royal, was born 6th of December 1910 at Raba Village, Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. His father was a district head and heir apparent to the Sultanate throne from the house of Usmanu Danfodio, a religious and social reformer who brought the Habib dynasty under the Fulani Caliphate in the beginning of the 19th century. Ahmadu Bello raised the bar of political consciousness in participation when, in 1944, he engineered the establishment of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) as the first political party in northern Nigeria and the rallying point for politicians in the region before independence. History will not forget Ahmadu Bello for his charisma and political sagacity, which provided easy passage for his kinsmen to assume political and administrative positions in Nigeria's post-independence era. The distinguished elder statesman and Sardauna of Sokoto has his face on his country's 200 naira currency as a mark of honor to one of the architects of Nigeria's independence. Western Spring Television identifies Ahmadu Bello as a watershed character in history. This iconic African presents the narrative of a man destined to exert an imperishable global influence in Western education. His was a story of a freeborn, captured and sold into slavery. He was born in Oshogun, a native Yoruba village near Iseyin in Okiogun axis of southwest Nigeria. Samuel Ajayi Crowther was the foundation student of Fora Bay College, Sierra Leone, the foremost university where the pioneer set of native Africans were educated. Samuel Ajayi Crowther's greatest contribution to humanity was his translation of the Holy Bible into the Yoruba language. The man who authored the Yoruba dictionary was also credited with the translation of English classic hymns into Yoruba and the Ekwere languages. Samuel Ajayi Crowther's private residence in Badagry, incidentally, the first story building in Nigeria, is an Akaba museum dedicated to the memory of Africa's first bishop. Western Spring Television identifies Samuel Ajayi Crowther as a watershed character in history. The 1914 Amalgamation Treaty is synonymous to the birth of Nigeria. Frederick Lugard, a British Army captain and an outlaw who struck gold in Africa, became the instrument used by destiny to make it happen. The amalgamation of Nigeria was designed for economic reasons by the colonial administration to offset Northern Protectorate budget deficit by Southern Protectorate surplus returns. The amalgamation had ad initio created imbalance in the economic political structure of Nigeria and was responsible for the persistent hiccups in the efforts to forge a united country till today. Nigeria's amalgamation was labeled as the mistake of 1914 by native northern conservatives who neither wanted it nor contributed anything significant to its sustenance. Western Spring Television identifies with Amalgamation Treaty of 1914 as a watershed event in history. Born Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905, Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region he administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history. Badamasi Adegoke Adelabu was a prominent figure in Ibadan politics and Western region before Nigeria's independence. He was a key founder of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, a political party that held lofty the torch of liberty for the two West African countries. He carved a niche for himself as a wordsmith and a creative speaker. The nickname Kwenkele Mens was a natively corrupted version of Peculiar Mess, his bombastic English language style often used to score proceedings at the parliament. The author of Africa in Ebullition, a handbook of freedom for Nigerian nationalists, was Nigeria's Federal Minister of Natural Resources and Social Services between 1955 and 1956. He died in an auto crash on the 25th March. The name Adolf Hitler exudes a gale of bile from millions of people who were victims of his autocratic rule and love, from fanatical supporters of his imperial aggression. Born April 20, 1889, at a small Austrian town sandwiched between Austro-German frontier, Adolf Hitler spent most of his childhood in Linz, the capital of Upper Austria. As a very prominent stakeholder in the horrific events of conflicts in Europe, Adolf Hitler could simply go off as the sole mover of the Second World War. 40 million Jews were murdered in the gas chambers of various Nazi camps on the orders of Adolf Hitler. Thousands of Adolf Hitlers still live in Germany today, but the majority of them are elderly and were named before the end of the Second World War. As the name pales into vanishing rarity, 13 children, according to official records, were named Adolf Hitler between 2006 and 2013. Western Spring Television identifies Adolf Hitler as a major character in history.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist, to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission. Even diffusion. Vast and fast. Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words. Broken
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West. And Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girls got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be showing on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila, and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Ahmadu Bello, a Prince Royal, was born 6th of December 1910 at Rabba Village, Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. His father was a district head and heir apparent to the Sultanate throne from the house of Usmanu Danfodio, a religious and social reformer who brought the Habib dynasty under the Fulani Caliphate in the beginning of the 19th century. Ahmadu Bello raised the bar of political consciousness in participation when, in 1944, he engineered the establishment of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) as the first political party in northern Nigeria and the rallying point for politicians in the region before independence. History will not forget Ahmadu Bello for his charisma and political sagacity, which provided easy passage for his kinsmen to assume political and administrative positions in Nigeria's post-independence era. The distinguished elder statesman and Sardauna of Sokoto has his face on his country's 200 naira currency as a mark of honor to one of the architects of Nigeria's independence. Western Spring Television identifies Ahmadu Bello as a watershed character in history. This iconic African presents the narrative of a man destined to exert an imperishable global influence in Western education. His was a story of a freeborn, captured and sold into slavery. He was born in Oshogun, a native Yoruba village near Iseyin in Okeogun axis of southwest Nigeria. Samuel Ajayi Crowther was the foundation student of Fora Bay College, Sierra Leone, the foremost university where the pioneer set of native Africans were educated. Samuel Ajayi Crowther's greatest contribution to humanity was his translation of the Holy Bible into the Yoruba language. The man who authored the Yoruba dictionary was also credited with the translation of English classic hymns into Yoruba and the Ekwere languages. Samuel Ajayi Crowther's private residence in Badagry, incidentally the first story building in Nigeria, is an Akaba museum dedicated to the memory of Africa's first bishop. Western Spring Television identifies Samuel Ajayi Crowther as a watershed character in history. The 1914 Amalgamation Treaty is synonymous to the birth of Nigeria. Frederick Lugard, a British Army captain and an outlaw who struck gold in Africa, became the instrument used by destiny to make it happen. The amalgamation of Nigeria was designed for economic reasons by the colonial administration to offset Northern Protectorate budget deficit by Southern Protectorate surplus returns. The amalgamation had ad initio created imbalance in the economic political structure of Nigeria and was responsible for the persistent hiccups in the efforts to forge a united country till today. Nigeria's amalgamation was labeled as the mistake of 1914 by native northern conservatives who neither wanted it nor contributed anything significant to its sustenance. Western Spring Television identifies with Amalgamation Treaty of 1914 as a watershed event in history. Born Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905, Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in the multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 Naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history. Badamasi Adegoke Adelabu was a prominent figure in Ibadan politics and Western region before Nigeria's independence. He was a key founder of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, a political party that held lofty the torch of liberty for the two West African countries. He carved a niche for himself as a wordsmith and a creative speaker. The nickname Kwenkele was a natively corrupted version of peculiar mess, his bombastic English language style often used to score proceedings at the parliament. The author of Africa in Ebullition, a handbook of freedom for Nigerian nationalists, was Nigeria's Federal Minister of Natural Resources and Social Services between 1955 and 1956. He died in an auto crash on the 25th March 1958 at the age of 42. Western Spring Television identifies Adegoke Adelabu as a watershed character in history. The name Adolf Hitler exudes a gale of bile from millions of people who were victims of his autocratic rule and love, from fanatical supporters of his imperial aggression. Born April 20, 1889, at a small Austrian town sandwiched between Austro-German frontier, Adolf Hitler spent most of his childhood in Linz, the capital of Upper Austria. As a very prominent stakeholder in the horrific events of conflicts in Europe, Adolf Hitler could simply go off as the sole mover of the Second World War. 40 million Jews were murdered in the gas chambers of various Nazi camps on the orders of Adolf Hitler. Thousands of Adolf Hitlers still live in Germany today, but the majority of them are elderly and were named before the end of the Second World War. As the name pales into vanishing rarity, 13 children, according to official records, were named Adolf Hitler between 2006 and 2013. Western Spring Television identifies Adolf Hitler as a major character in history.
Bẹ́gùn bá jáde, mọ̀rìwò lákọ́kọ́ rí, ọwọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ ní síwájú ìjó, ẹsẹ̀ katakata ní síwájú rìn, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti ń gbúrò wa, a tún ti dé náà nù. Ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò Owambe Unlimited. Pẹ̀lú èmi ọmọ yín, olólùfẹ́ yín, ọ̀rẹ́ yín, Suliat tẹ́túmọ̀ sí Morenikeji. Ẹ lè pè mí ní Susu, tó bá wẹ̀ lómi, a sọ pé ìyálòde àríyá, gbogbo orúkọ tẹ́ ẹ bá pè mí. Kò sí èyí tí mi ò ní jẹ yín. Ẹ farabalẹ̀, kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò Owambe Unlimited lórí ìkànnì Western Spring Television ní ìkànnì 190. Ibẹ̀ ni Owambe Unlimited ń bọ̀ wá. Ẹ fàkùrẹ̀ tẹ̀dí kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò àríyá wa.
Mo ń sọ fún yín pé ẹ máa wo Owambe Unlimited lórí Western Spring Television.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewa,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi and Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Èdè Yorùbá jẹ́ ọ̀kan lára àwọn èdè tí wọ́n ń sọ ní agbègbè Niger Congo. Èdè Yorùbá gbajúgbajà ní àwọn orílẹ̀-èdè tó ń bẹ ní ẹkùn ìwọ̀ oòrùn ilẹ̀ adúláwọ̀. Ó kéré tán, àwọn ènìyàn bíi mílíọ̀nù 14 ló ń sọ èdè Yorùbá lónìí. Ètò akọ́mọlédè ló ń dé sójú ìwòran yín láti iléeṣẹ́ móhùnmáwòrán WSTV ìkànnì 150 channel 190 lórí Star Times. Folúṣọ́ Ayaolúwagbémiga, ìyá ìjọ pèdèpèdè, ìyá akọ́mọlédè ló kọ tèmi. Yorùbá dùn púpọ̀, Yorùbá ò lè kú, Yorùbá ò lè parun. Tiwa làṣà, tiwa lèdè, tiwa nìṣẹ̀ṣe, akọ́mọlédè.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever is pounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is. except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West. And Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girl got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
All right, welcome back to the show, Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. And this morning, we're bringing to you live our conversation on the redefined Nigerian political space and some of the statements that have been coming out recently. We have with us, joining us in the studio this morning, our regular guest, Pastor Barrister. Okay, I'll take off the pastor now. Barrister Moses Obadita. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. The Spirit is speaking.
Oh, it's the Spirit speaking. Okay, so now let's start off with what's happening in the country. Treason is a word that's been bandied around now. At our press conference in Washington, D.C., Minister of Information Lai Mohammed said that Peter Obi of the Labour Party and his vice Dati Baba Ahmed have committed treason. You know, that their statement calling for Dati Ahmed's statement of saying that Tinubu should not be inaugurated on the 29th of May because of some issues. You know, do those statements contribute to treason? Do they amount to treason in the first place?
Well, you know, Lai Mohammed has his own style of doing things. He's one of the great propagandists in APC. But that notwithstanding, the fact that I say it's not going to be will not be inaugurated on the 29th of May does not constitute treason. What constitutes treason is the state of turning the country into a state of anarchy that will make it ungovernable. We're going to do this. It is that kind of things that can be referred to as treasonable felony. And so that's why we have to caution. And I'm sure the person was interviewed that day was saying, if you do like this, do like that, it should have been, no, sir, you are probably something like that. So no matter how a man can be provoked, since there is law, you cannot go into, it's because of assuming they are just somebody like you and I, they will have picked me up and say, what are you talking? Look at the man at the airport who was saying, if they do this one, and before you know, the man has been charged to court. So they are just giving them because they know the implication. if they pick Obi or pick that, their member will be in the street. And what they want to achieve is that disorderliness of the society. So when you get to a level in society, no matter the level of your provocation, you try to, exercise some restraint because you have a large followers and they could create political, crisis within the politics. So what Mohammed was saying was that the action can be, because he's not here, he is a lawyer. But the case has not gone to court. He can say we can charge them. Can't say they are guilty, because a man is guilty on the court say so. So they are still, both of them are still innocent. However, there is a need for them to be conscious of their utterances, because their statement can set the nation ablaze.
Well, so Obi has always said that he has always called for peace. In fact, there have been multiple videos where his supporters have said, do you want us to go up to the streets? And he says, no, peace is what we want. Now, all of these allegations of treason, do you see it as politics, or do you think that if the man were really guilty, if they had found something on him, they wouldn't have picked him up by this time?
Well, there's a saying that say war is a continuation of politics. So that's, you can't totally say they're like twin sisters. When you are in politics level of war, you are in. Late Bola Ige was asked some questions during the days of Nadeko. They said, have you people given up? He said, no, that political war has 3 dimensions. 1, there is the physical. 2, there is the psychology. And then the 3rd, there is that spiritual. So if Obi is saying, look, I do not want war, I want peace, these are the things I'm doing. But his running mate, languages, the things was saying is not complementary. So if they are going to be charged, they can't charge me for my senior. Neither can they charge Obi for what Daddy has said. It's Daddy that they felt has made some utterances that constitutionally is not in conformity with the Constitution or the law. You don't need to be a lawyer to know that when I said, I will make this place ungovernable, I will destroy this one, I can set people. So when you see that one, what do they call? There's a law they make the other time that you don't speak some corrosive word or some dirty words to the people. So if you are saying this is the story, I'll give you a very simple example. About 10 years ago in Tunisia, a young man had no job and was selling some little wares along the road, and the city policeman came, pick up his load. And then he even went to the government to plead with them, look, I don't have a job. This is what I'm doing. They asked him to go to places. You know what the guy did? He did not make utterance, but he made something that provoked problem. He set himself ablaze. And the whole Tunisia went into riot. Before you know it, that's what we call the Arab Spring. It consumed the president, he resigned, it consumed Libya, and even Egypt. So there are some actions that can trigger a country that's already at the cliff of disorderliness. If you look at Nigeria, the former central bank governor Sanusi and many other people, including the Sultan Sukuru, was saying Nigeria is at the level of disunity, and that there's a need for us to take it easy so that we can be united again. So at this level in which we are, we must be very careful so that whatever we are saying or doing, we do not aggravate the situation that can lead us to war. So what I'm saying in summary was that it doesn't need until somebody tell you that what A and B has said, but people look at their leader and they can go to war because they believe in you. So that's why leader must be people who are a bit in charge of their emotions so that they do not trigger unnecessary crisis because of their reaction.
All right. Obi has released a statement that that audio was doctored. Now, from your assessment, do you think that it was doctored? And if it was, why did it take him so long to give that statement that it was a doctored audio?
Yeah, I'm not a forensic analyst. I watched the video, I listened to the audio, and I know something transpired between Bishop Oyedepo and Obi. To me, what Obi has said is not something that others have not said. I'm going to give you an example. in Kaduna, the PDP president candidate, Atiku Abubakar, went to them and said, this is Ariwa. I'm your people. What is he appealing to? Sentiment, ethnic sentiment. Bola Tinubu went to the Ulamas and addressed them. And the Ulama reacted, this is our brother. So what has Obi said that these two people have not done? It is because I told you that politics is war in a level, is sentimental, is so many things. No, it's a game of intrigues. If you are not mature, they put you into the cliff before you know it. So what Obi has said, they just catch on it. Do you know that you cannot record my conversation without my consent? Essentially, I was telling you, maybe if I come to you and we have. So for those who have done one, they have gone to their privacy. Remember, there was an American president years back. This president was going for second term, Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon asked some of his followers to go and tap the telephone of his, his subordinates, his opponents. And the thing got into the hands of the FBI. And before you know it, Richard Nixon has to resign. And he couldn't go for the second term. So it is a very criminal offense for anybody to have tapped into somebody's conversation and then you want to use it against them. So that's why we're saying that when you look around, there's in political science, we call something modeling through. It's a principle. In Nigeria, the politicians are modeling through, they mix water, they mix it with oil, just because they want something. I think we should appeal both to those who have won and those who have lost to take it easy. Nigeria is older than any of them. Nigeria is more than an individual. They are just a set out of the millions that make up the collectively called Nigeria. So nobody in the purpose of achieving power or pursuing power should take it to granted. We have lost so many people. And I remember after the 1993 presidential election of MK Abiola, people like me just escaped there by whisker. I was reporting for the then Concord newspaper. I was at Akpogon. And we never knew, even though they told us not to come out. But because I dressed like this, that was 7 people surrounded me with cutlass. I was thinking they want young men beating with the flat side of the cutlass. I suffer you pick my daddy. We told people not to gather. I was showing them my, they don't need your money. And somebody at the bridge said, don't kill him. And many things. I was at Yanopaja Bridge. My son was in the nursery school or primary school. I could not cross there. Bullets were raining here and there. People by your side were falling down because of the aftermath of election. Some of these people were young. And at the time I'm talking to you, some were just baby. And they did not know what it is. It was then they came to me and said, okay, suppose there's war in Nigeria. Where will I pick these children? Where will I run to? And that's why we are asking them to take it easy. Let them look back to 26 years ago in Rwanda. Similar things. The president was on the air, they shot him dead, and the other tribe said, no, they were not going to take it. Coming back home, we have gone through a lot that we should appeal to politicians and the political followers, not to aggravate it to the tension to the level at which we will just begin to kill ourselves and making the society. No, it should be paramount in our mind. What should be asking, number one, is economy. About 40, how would I call it now? Let's say it's about 38 years ago, because 1985 to this time, will it be around? Am I actually correct? I was serving. My NYC allowance was 200 naira. With that 200 naira, I was taking plane from Lagos to Calabar, 49 naira. Can 200 take you to anywhere today? And the same country? So will the economy not be improving? So when you are looking, the first car I bought was 6,000 B2, not new, second hand. The second one was 45 from Wolf. So if you look at the economy, it should be paramount to the politician. How do we bring this economy to this level? If you talk to the Ghanaian, we ask you to go to places. Why? Because the economy is doing fine. It is your currency, what you hold in hand, that makes people to respect you. In the world's meetings, this country, I'm not Ghana. When they call you Bobo Ghana, it's an insult. If they call you Ghana woman, in those days I'm talking about 40 years ago, that means that lady is a prostitute. But see what they are doing to our citizens in Ghana. Some of the South African people, they were in struggle for apartheid. They came to you as our colleague. When they see how they respect us, because the value, and I remember this shirt I was holding, a packet, not Tokumbo, is just 2.50 naira. And I remember when somebody said, I'll buy 6 naira, I say, what do I have? God, I felt, what's wrong? This same suit, which I use for matriculation, is 150 kobo. Sorry, 150 naira. I didn't say 1,000, 150 suits for matriculation in 1982. But when you look around at this economy, and then these people are coming, they become the parasite, they become the one that devour the land. In the mix of plenty, there's abject poverty. Why country like India, why country like China are reducing, taking about 100 million out of poverty because of creativity, because of idea and internet something. Our own country are turning millions. Initially it was 86 million. Now we're about 136 million that are totally, poor. And yet it does not really matter to them. What matters is power. And Professor Claude Ake, that was the man that crashed in the plane, a political economist, said that in Nigeria and in Africa, that politics, especially election, is war. And why? Because they know access to power is access to wealth. Look around. Some of the people, nobody were counselor. By the time they get there, the car they bought, they cannot explain the reason. As soon as you swear in the governor, even before swearing, they say, I don't need that car. The next one, he need bulletproof. The bulletproof car can't be less than 50 million. And 2 of it must be for the security that follow them. If you take 150 million because somebody wants to ride, then you have to feed him. And I remember when one American president, by the time he was sworn in, the second day, they give them bill because the wife was just eating. He didn't know they are going to pay for it. In our own country here, they will feed you. They will house you. If you are traveling, it's free air everywhere all over the world. Those are the wastes that you don't find in developed country. There's a man, Joseph something in towards South Africa. He's now a retired president, or ex-president. He was using B2. And he lives in a room and parlor with his wife. The money he's earning as a salary was given it to the poor in the society. Do you have that one in our country? So those are the things they should be thinking about. I went to school. I went to UI. I didn't pay up to 500 naira. Once you enter UI in 1982, you pay 25 naira. We call it caution fee. The other thing, go and look for money. The ticket meal is 50 kobo. These people are not thinking about it. Many people, they are telling you we have 12 million people cannot even access primary school and they are not bothered. Education was free when they were there, but the President Buhari told us, said, I would have been a cowboy, if not because of education. So what is his plan? He's going out now. What will be his plan for the children of Kalman? Go to Riverside. I've been to Goloma in near Port Harcourt. You see women in their 40, 50. By early morning, they're on the canoe. The water is polluted because of the oil spillages. In America, I did my project is on oil pollution. And I did a comparison of Canada, United States, and UK. If you pollute water because you are drilling oil in California, in Alaska, or any other country, in UK, you don't wait for the people to complain. You keep clean up, and then you pay compensation. Look at those fisherwomen. They cannot go fish because the water has killed the fishes. And nobody is talking. And look, they say they want to clean up. They want to bring you. And where are they cleaning up? So these are areas they should be thinking. The people who cannot access school, the people who graduate cannot get school. Now for 8 months, the university closed down. Nobody is thinking. It has never happened like that. So these are the areas they should be discussing issue. But what matter is that this one must be exact, that one must be jail. Is that what they put them for governor? Awolowo said, you see, if anybody is in governance without a policy that can change the life of people, he has no business in governance. Let's leave Awolowo. Let's come to Constitution. Section 14, sub 2B. He said, it shall be the duties of every government to see to the security of lives and property and welfare of the people. Is our life secure? I was in the state yesterday. I was driving with my eye here in case anything, because I have to pass through the bushes. So, and not only that, see, about 48 hours ago, students were picking secondary school, students were picking university, and nobody is asking questions. You can't try that in US. They will have provided special task force will have been available. And then these are still politics. They are playing with our lives. So they should be concerned about the economy, about the security, and about how to improve the people's welfare. If they are not doing that, all this on, they're just wasting our time. That is not politics. Politics is about improving your life, making people to be access to the economy, and then to be able to live a life with peace and plenty. Anything outside that one, it is a misgovernance.
Well, so you've spoken really passionately about it, but do you see Nigeria returning to the glory days you've just spoken about?
It is possible. But, I put the but there, the recruitment of leadership. if you look around, you saw a beautiful woman in the streets. And say, see how this woman is naked and is talking. Find out what's wrong with her. She has mental problem. And no matter how big an animal is, the lion, the elephant, shoot him in the head. That's the end. Once the head of a fish is rotten, the whole body is going to be rotten. Until we get it right at leadership recruitment, until people who are coming are not coming because they want the resources of the state. American John Kennedy said, do not ask your country what your country can do for you, but ask what can you do for your country. Most of these people, from local government level to state level to the federal level, how many of them are coming and said, look, I'm not going to take salary. And I'm going to give you an example, somebody who did it in Rivers State. He's called Dr. Febere Sima, Commissioner for Health, under Colonel Adeleye. He said, look, I'm a medical doctor. I'm going to serve you as a commissioner of health. I won't take your salary, but you will allow me to close by 5 p.m. I've not seen another person that did it. And eventually, they packaged some things for the Ministry of Health, River. Google the story I'm telling you. And they asked the man to sign. It was a mobile, health something, this boat, flying boat. And the man said, I didn't know about the contract. He didn't tell me. I cannot sign. The man resigned. He left his job. Because what? He came to give something. How many of these people come to give? But rather, they say, the salary we are taking. Former senator in Kaduna, Shehu Sani told us, look, apart from salary, they give us allowance. On a monthly, we're taking 13.5 million. We never knew. If you're taking 13.5 million, and I say America, richer than you, they don't give them building. They only give you an office that will serve as your accommodation and where you do your job. Here, we go and see the places they made for them. And apart from it, they sold it to themselves when Obasanjo was living. And then when you get the first thing they give you, you collected as senator, quote me, and Google it. They give you 35 million. They call it furniture allowance. If you are in the House of Rep, they give you 17 million. Some of them have not. I mean, I've not seen 17 million. And I've been working for almost 40 years now. So, and when you get this money, why would people not struggle? Knowing fully well you want to change your lifestyle. You want to change your car. You want to change so many things. You want to travel where nobody has ever traveled to. And so when you come like that, they will not think about the governance. They think about themselves. So those are the area. Until we get, remember I thought about recruitment. Our recruitment is faulty. In America, look at what is going on. Look at what they did to Donald Trump. Can they try that in Nigeria? A certain group will be in the streets. They'll say, no, they are persecuting him. 34 criminal charges. Level against ex-president. And I don't see how you can, 34. Before the American level, they will have got their fact, everything ready. And that man will be asking for state pardon. So if you come here, I will mention their name. 2 people. One was an ex-Air Force officer. He became governor towards the Niger Delta. He stole their money. He ended up in jail. Another one was accused of stealing some property of a contractor in Abuja. He was alleged to have gone to jail, but he denied he wasn't the one. But by the time he finished, he ended up in jail abroad. These are the leaders you are going to have. When the president was coming in 2015, he said, I and my vice president will declare our assets. And the world will see it. Till today, do you know the asset of the president? It's about 1.5 months to go. But there's a beautiful man by the side. Seyi Makinde. He said, this is what I have. This is the amount in my account. This is everything. And the Constitution says so, that in that section, I think 134, that before you sue him, you must declare your asset. In abroad, you can Google and see this is what Donald Trump, and that's why they were able to know he didn't pay tax. But here, nobody dare to look at the face of our big people. So when we get it right from that leadership, and they now know they are for service, not for comforts, it is then that we can arrive at this level. Most of the first 3, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, and Amadu, they didn't start with comfort. They came and looked at their people. What can I do for the son of the cowman? What can I do for the son of the fisherman? What can I do for the farmer that are here? Free compulsory education. 1952, 1957, and they continue until military intervention. And till today, asks how many states have that one as their program. Maybe Zulum, and you can see his performance there. So until we're able to get it right, looking at where you have worked before, look at your antecedent, and then people are able to look around. That was a president candidate in France. He wanted to contest, and people just quickly went to his bar and said, there was a day you were in an hotel, and a lady was claiming you wanted to rape her, that man quickly withdrew from that presidential candidate. But here they say it does not really matter. This is privacy. Look at some of the things they brought against Donald Trump. He has messed up with some women. He gave some people $150,000. You don't look here. They say, no, that is his privacy. No! A leader must be like a shining light that others to follow. Once we have it, and to summarize what I'm saying, a politician looked towards the next election, but a statesman looked towards the next generation. So there must be somebody who is thinking of your son, my grandchildren. How will they survive in Nigeria? What are those things they are going to leave behind for them? It is then that we know. Look at this. Matthew Roide, who used to be the head of the economic team in Senate. About a year ago, he said some agency, they stole some money, they spent some money they could not account for. The paper today have just carried similar story. That's not going to go. Before I pause, the Accountant General of the Nation, since I came to be conscious of myself, no one has stolen 109 billion. They only collect 30 billion from the man. This government is about going. What will happen to it? Many other things. The money found in the 2004 building, this around, we collect so and so money from Sonia Basha. Where is the account? How did we spend it? We borrow money from China. We want to use it to rebuild Ajaokuta, iron ore. Some people will leave it there. Then we'll be importing. What have you? So it's not a magic. It's not something in the air. It is simply in human being. So once we get it right, and you move somebody that showed the direction, things will change. Before I pause, look at Ghana. When General Rawlings came on board, they arrested him. They say he wanted to take over. From the jail, he jumped out. He picked 4 ex-head of state, put them at stake, and fired them. From that day to today, if you are going to policy in Ghana, you think twice. That's why the economy pick up. I'm not asking for that, but John Kennedy also said, those who make peaceful change impossible make a violent change inevitable. So if we do not want it to be gradual like this, somebody will come and say, look, enough of this hunger. We need a change so that Nigeria can be Nigeria. So that, look at the number of people who are drowning in the sea because they want to japa. Look at those who are even there. When they got it, the reality there is not the same as they have painted. Look at some of our children. They will take them and then go and remove their organs over there and say, some will use them in prostitution. When here, people are coming here. As a student in secondary school, I was doing vacation job. The first radio I bought is 57 naira. I did it with PZ. They were paying me 57 naira weekly. You don't get that job today, even when you're a graduate. So until we're able to bring leader who has a vision and who has the plan of executing them and making things evil, it is then we're going to get it. So we can get back to a better country, but it depends on a leader. Because if there is no vision, there can't be mission. You conceive it in your mind and say, okay, I want to be a journalist. How do I arrive? I have to do literature. I have to go and study mass comm, and that kind of, and that's why you find yourself here. But here, a person will just woke up. Baba said, you are from our side, and we're looking at somebody who is a graduate. And then they pick you up. And look around. From independence to today, none of them has a blueprint. This is what I intend to achieve. And when they come in, they just try here, they try here, and by the time they finish, they can't change the situation. So once we get it with those leadership, and our recruitment is perfect, or may not be perfect, but better, as it happened in other countries. Look at Britain. A woman came in, said, I'm going to do the economy. And the team was removed. Another one came. Within short time, within 6 months, 3 leaders in UK. That is what we call leadership. That's what we call a country. You don't occupy space without functioning. It is not just occupying, Mr. President. You ask yourself question. I've promised them this one. Why am I not getting it? What can I do? You call people. That's why you have advisor. A tree never make a forest. But in our country, they say you are insulting the president. You are criticizing the system. Democracy is about criticism. And that's why we have the lawmaker. We have check and balances. So when you have gone to for the court comes in, look around. Are those 3 things doing the work? Leadership.
Okay, so before we close the show, let's take a break away from Nigeria's problems now and look at something that happened yesterday. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo wrote to the chief clerk of the Central Criminal Court in Old Bailey, London, talking about Ike Ekweremadu. It says that he's seeking some sort of leniency for Ike Ekweremadu. He actually condemns the crime, says it's unpleasant and condemnable and can't be tolerated in any sane or civilized society. He says that as for his position as one of the distinguished senators and for the sake of their daughter, he should use the good offices to intervene and appeal to the court and the government of the UK to temper justice with mercy and let the punishment that may have to come take their good character and parental instinct and care into consideration. Do you think that Chief Obasanjo should have interfered or written this kind of letter, considering that this is a criminal offense?
Well, Obasanjo is a man of many character, and he's also a global man. And having interacted with various countries, he felt this is his opportunity to let the world know about how he felt about the issue, so that he has the freedom to express himself. However, in developed polity, what he has done is one of the things the lawyer of Ekweremadu will eventually do when it is the hour to give the verdict. My Lord, sir, this man has been a distinguished senator. He has done this, he has done that, and he wouldn't have gone into this because it's not for commercial purpose, but because of the children. We urge you, sir, to please tender justice with mercy. It is normal. But in United Kingdom, the law does not respect anybody. That same UK, they have opportunity to jail some of their leaders. In Israel, their former president was in jail. In Brazil, the man who had just come in was once in jail and came back. So in what Obasanjo has done is international politics, but it will not affect that court. Number one, he's not a lawyer. Number two, he wasn't defending them. Number three, the law has been there. They can only show them some level of mercy, but that they will eventually go into jail. It could depend on, for example, in law, if they ask to jail somebody, they are what we call minimum sentence, and there's a maximum. Assuming Ekweremadu did that one for commercial purpose, they could give him maximum punishment. We don't know what their maximum punishment is, but they could give them minimum punishment. It is normal as parents, we go extra miles. This time must not go. But in the process, that's where humanity comes in. And that's why the society in the Western country is far better than our here. It's not because of their skin. It's because of the history of institutional. Over the institutional allow given freedom to function. And when you are in that position, maybe as a lawyer, as a judge, you must conduct yourself within the prisms of law. But here, if this Ekweremadu, and that's the area I want us to study, if he has done what he did here in Nigeria, that case will not be charged to court. He will even tell you, if they won't frame me up, it's because of my political leaning in the society. It's because they know I'm a political, gigantic individual. And that will be the end. We have seen many things in our own country here. Give an example. In Kogi, a commissioner was alleged to have raped a lady, and the lady went public. We only hear the story. That's the end of the matter. In Kano, a governor was seen collecting dollar. Video seen. And eventually, the man went to court. To today, they was persuaded and the case died. In developed country, developed polity, that governor will resign. Why? Integrity. That institution must not be denigrated. But here, anything goes. And that's why I'm certain that it is leadership. It's leadership that determines how a country will look like. This same Nigerian that we are talking about, do you know about maybe 40 years ago, even before, let's say from 1976, there was a man called General Murtala Mohammed. He came. He said, I believe in action. I do not believe in words. And before you know it, most of the people steal our resources. They were taking them. Those who are supposed to be declared wanted, they declared them wanted. While that process was going on, there was a movement within the army. That man was killed. That was one of the shortcomings of the revolution that should have taken place and cleaned the polity. And then we gradually coming up. By the time the 1979 came, the man succeeded. It was alleged that 6 members of their party, MPN, Adisa Akinloye, Umaru Diko, and Uba Ahmed, these 3 people stole £6 billion. And then the military takeover, which is our present president, said he declared them dead or alive. And they picked Umaru Diko in the heart of London. They put him in a cabin, insecticide it, and was about to fly him here when the eagle eye of the security man got there. So what's the content? Open, only to see a man already dead asleep. Those major that carried out, they went to jail in Britain. That was an aborted one. So when will that another one come? Because when the period I'm telling you was a period that when you are in post office, when you are everywhere, you kill. They call it war against indiscipline. Today, who is going to lead the war? How many people in our leadership you can see and say, this man is an exemplary? I can compare him with Obama. You know, I used to have a friend. He's likely to be listening to, or if he's watching all this morning, he's a lawyer. He said something is wrong with black man. I said nothing is wrong with black man. That the problem with black man is his environment. Take a black man to anywhere in the world, he performed excellently well. Obama's father was from Kenya. And in terms of socialization, I think we in Nigeria, we feel we are socially sophisticated. And yet, look at what Obama. When Obama wanted to contest, Bill Clinton said, you black man. And he denigrated the man. Eventually, he apologized. Obama performed more than Clinton. He set a record. Not because of skin, because he has something at the top. Most of the people advising the president, either in the UNO, here and there, Gambari is currently working with the president. Professor Agbola Gambari is from Ilorin here. And he performed very well at the UNO. So what's the problem? Because our environment allows some things. There's something in social science we call norms and values. Our norms and value is far from what is happening over there. The norms there is that you do your office accordingly. But here, they congratulate you. Mr. Emmanuel, congratulations. You know, this is the first time somebody from our family is coming to that position. I beg, we could remember me. And once you get there, the parents will say, okay, this is the way we do it. I'll give you an example. There was a man called Colonel Basa. He was the director of NYC about 40 years ago. And the man was doing well. And then there was a permanent secretary called Mr. Killer. That's K-I-L-A. And then he said, okay, this is how we do it too. He put about, let's say, 10 million into account of his son, who was 11-year-old. I made all that thing. By the time petition came, they picked Colonel Obasa and was before tribunal. Say, my permanent secretary said, this is the way we do it. The man went to jail. The man is still alive. What I'm talking, the norms and values in our world is materialism. Over there is service. Until we change the norms and value, just as the rendering service to humanity, it is then we get it right. But if it's only acquired property, I was discussing with somebody, I was on my way from Adekiti yesterday, I went to court today. And when I was discussing with that colleague, I said, if you come to Elisha, when I was a small boy, there were some people that obey use their name to sing. Go to those buildings, mansion, gigantic, you will see goats. He said, what are their children? I say, assuming you have children now, in the next 20 years, will they live in your type of house? Because the world will have changed. The beautification, the architecture, this, thing we must have been with different from what you are living in. That those are the things our leaders are not considering. That those things they called were beauty, the gold, are not forever. Because gold will eventually change color. It may not be destroyed totally, but it will not be as shiny as it is today. And those are the things that those who are listening to us today should remember. This thing you acquire, one day you will leave it. Your children will not take it because things will have changed. Even before you die, your taste will change. I remember when I was a young man, I went to a man's house. I saw meat. Like I say, when I become a man, I'll be eating like meat. But when I became a man, the medical doctor told us that meat is injurious to the heart. Today, I eat fish.
All right, so let's end the show there. Thank you so much for your time on the show.
Being here.
Vice Moses Obadito, a regular face on the program, giving us some insight into why we need to change the architecture of Nigeria and our recruitment process for our leaders. But that's why we leave the show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow to give you the TGIF edition of the show. My name is Emmanuel Ujadigele, EM Ujadigele on Twitter. Do have for yourself a lovely Thursday.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Temi Tope Ajijola Oluwala. Good day.